Hey everyone, Bren here. In this week's video, I'm going to share with you a very simple cucumber snack using some of these fresh, delicious fruit that I have growing here in my summer veggie patch. Plus, we'll take a look at the new cut flower garden where I do a harvest of lovely sun-loving summer flowers that I put together in arrangements to sell at my local garden centre, all part of my small business called Bren's Blooms, where I grow cut flowers in an organic way in my back garden that I sell to my local community. So please just sit back and relax for a few minutes and let's get into it now. I want to share with you a refreshing, tasty snack using one of these delicious cucumbers that I've grown here in my garden. Unfortunately, they're not all looking as good as this one. I noticed this morning that something's been at this particular cucumber. It seems to have got in there. It's a very clean circle though, so I was thinking originally it could be rodents, but I don't think you would see such a lovely clean line like that. Oh, I probably shouldn't be touching it. So I wonder what else could have done this damage. Regardless, it has made its way in there and it looks like it's disrupted or eaten a bit of the flesh inside. Now I might just pick this off and cut it here. I reckon this side of the cucumber is perfectly fine, but if not, I'll just put it in the compost because there are plenty more on the way. I'm going to use this to make cucumber rolls by slicing it thinly along the length, which I'll show you in a minute, and then I'm going to fill it with a mix that is very popular with my family. I've just done a couple of slices. It's important to get them as thin as possible so they roll up nice and tight, but as you can see mine are a bit chunky in places, and that's because I used a knife. You can use a potato peeler which will get them thinner than this, or probably the best result I reckon is using a mandolin. I always say the name of that utensil wrong. It's called mandolin, and the reason why I don't use it is because I had a bad experience with it a few years ago. I chopped off the top of this little finger. You can kind of see a lump there, and it was completely my own fault because I didn't use the safety guard. So yeah, I'll never be using that again. I'm scared, but you know, you can still get good results with a knife. This is what they look like rolled up, but first I need to show you the filling. To make this quick dish, I've grabbed this can of corn kernels. I actually have corn growing in the garden at the moment, but it's not ready to pick yet. I'll show you that a bit later on. I've got some tuna in spring water, a red onion, and the secret ingredient, a Japanese mayonnaise. It's called QP, and we use this if we're making homemade sushi, which isn't that often, but the kids do enjoy making it. It has a lovely rich tangy flavour, and I believe it's made with just egg yolks, and that's what gives it that really rich, creamy, delicious taste. I've just placed it all in a bowl, not the entire onion. There's about half an onion in there, trying to chop it up fairly small, but as you can see my chopping skills aren't great because there are a few larger chunks. Also, I wanted to say too that instead of adding salt, you could add some soy sauce to add that salty Asian flavour. Now, what I'm going to do with this is just give it a good mix. But I have to say, when it comes to me making this at home, it never looks this presentable. I just chuck everything in. I don't really have measurements as such. I kind of have a feel for how much goes into this dish. I also put pepper in here, but the thing is with these fillings you can really add whatever you like. You can put in some like ricotta, some tomatoes, cherry tomatoes would be nice, a bit of basil. I've got that growing in the garden. I might do that the next time. Let's see how I go with one hand. Not very good. You can definitely tell this is home cooking. Well, it's not really cooking, but a homemade dish. So when I make sushi or anything with a roll, I try not overfill it because it doesn't roll up very well. So you can see there, I didn't put too much on top. I just had a check in the cupboard to see if I could find any toothpicks, and they're not there. Maybe I packed them, I'm not sure. But if you have a toothpick, it's best to use that really, because then you can just hold it in place. Because if I put it down here, you'll see it starts to fall apart. I find cream cheese is really good to use because it helps stick everything together or glue it together so it doesn't unravel. Anyway, that's my little simple, tasty, refreshing dish using homegrown cucumbers. Here's the patch of corn that I'm growing, and it's not quite ready yet because the tassels haven't completely browned off. That's one sign that your corn is ready to pick. So I reckon it will be a few more weeks before I'll be harvesting these. We're at the halfway point of summer, and while this cut flower patch is full of sun-loving, heat-loving blooms like zinnias and cosmos, then the dahlias and feverview, it's this point of year that I need to start thinking about the next season, autumn, fall, and what I want to start sowing now so that I can have plants, whether they be edibles or flowers, to enjoy during those slightly cooler months. I was just showing you how some of the feverfew stems have flopped over into the pathways. I really should have corralled them up and given them some frame to grow around. Anyway, it is what it is. But you remember those zinnia seeds I put in a couple of weeks ago now? They've put on a decent bit of growth, which I'm pleased with, and I haven't lost too many. But along with the seedling growth, there's still loads of weeds, so I need to come back here and give it a good hard weeding and get the area cleared up nicely. These are the dahlias. I did have to deadhead a few of them because they were slightly over, but what I will do is next week, hopefully now there's plenty of buds there that I'll be able to harvest a whole bunch of dahlias for the arrangements. And of course the zinnias, they're still going, a great cut and come again flower that you just keep on picking and picking. But the thing is, people say that they last all the way till the frost, but for me, I find that doesn't tend to happen. I notice they get a lot of fungal diseases on the leaves. Like if you take a deeper look down here among the foliage, you can see it looks like there's some kind of fungal disease there. I'm not quite sure what it is, and that's why I'm going to try and sow a few more zinnia seeds just to keep the harvest going. Oh, and another thing here that I do with the cosmos, this cosmos here is called Purity. I just cut off the flowers as they open because I don't want them to set seed because they'll stop blooming. And you can see the stem has many buds on it, so it's not going to miss this one flower. I was spoiled for choice this week when it came to the zinnia selection. So many different shapes, colours and sizes, but there were some flowers that the stems were too short to use in my arrangements, but I'll use these in my kitchen. And then I picked a bit of foliage from the cosmos plants. I find they go limp once I harvest them, but left in a bucket overnight they rejuvenate and get that strength back into them. Something strange happened last night. When I woke up this morning, these feverview were so limp and I just couldn't use them in the arrangements, which I just find very odd because that's never happened to me before. Yes, when I harvest them, they do go slightly wilted, but they bounce back overnight in a bucket of water. So yeah, I don't know. Has anyone any idea what happened? The only thing I can think of is maybe the stems weren't strong enough. They were too immature and they just weren't able to recover from picking them. This is what the patch looked like after I picked from it. I did leave a few blooms that weren't ready to harvest, but mostly I left a few for the bees, our garden friends. And these are the arrangements I put together for this week. I dropped them off at Tarmore Garden Centre this morning. Usually with the arrangements I do two that are just a mix of colours, and then the other two I try and control myself a bit and keep it more to maybe 3 or 4 colours. But this week I just went for it and mixed them all up. And I actually added some flower food for the first time. I've never done this before. It was on special from the website I purchased my supplies from, so I thought I'd give it a try. And I think, you know, if the flower food helps these flowers stay fresher, looking better for longer for my customers, I think it's worth it. I have to say I'm feeling a little bit down about my small business Brand's blooms, and that's because sales of the flowers haven't been great. Like, for example, this week I only sold 1 arrangement at the garden centre and I'm not getting very many additional orders. It's, yeah, I don't know what to do. I'm probably not promoting it enough or something, but I also feel like people aren't willing to spend lots of money on discretionary goods like these bouquets. I think I have them quite reasonably priced at $35 each, and I really don't want to go lower than that, because you know there is a lot of cost and work involved in them. We'll see. I'll have to have a think about it. There's a beautiful breeze out. It's just lovely after the hot, humid and wet week we've had since I spoke to you last Friday. I'm hoping now over the next couple of days, over the weekend, it's going to continue to be like this. I doubt it, but I can dream. Maybe I'll get up early in the morning. But before I do any of that, I need to get this video finished and uploaded. So I just wanted to say thanks so much for watching, everyone. Thanks for all your lovely comments on last week's 5-year anniversary video. They were so great to read. Anyway, I'll see you again next Friday.